We spent hours and hours on the road, and this was pre-internet, and I told Wayne he was basically my Wookiepedia when it comes, because we've been Star Wars marks from day one, and Wayne not only obviously was understood not only the films, but he understood the history, but he understood also the books and the comic books and all the stuff that's considered legends now. Like Wayne would be the one that I would say, hey, what's going on with this? And he'd give me this like elaborate the backstory of what was going on with this, and realizing how rich of a history Star Wars is. So I thought it'd be perfect to have him on our halfway there episode for Obi Wan Kenobi. So Wayne, you are
Why don't you just call me a nerd without calling me a nerd,
man? That was basically it. But man, we just spent hours on doing it, and it's like, wow, okay. But you and I...
Well, you got to fill those hours out on the road somehow.
Yeah, and we did, and it was filled with a lot of Star Wars talk of books like Darth Plagueis the Wise, that book that I never would have read until you told me. And now it's like not only one of my favorite Star Wars books, but it's one of my favorite books, period, to the point that it's like, this would be the series I want to see. But Wayne has a very, very high bar when it comes to talking about Star Wars. So whether we're talking about Mandalorian, Boba Fett, the sequel trilogies, we knew this one was going to be important, Wayne. And wouldn't you agree that this is probably the most important piece of Star Wars content that they've made since the prequel trilogies, I guess?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Obi-Wan is a central character to all the stories moving through the Skywalker saga. And to get to go back and see what it was like for him in isolation trying to protect Luke is just amazing.
Oh man. So far we got we're 3 episodes in, and it's a 6-episode series. We got 2 right away, and then we got a 3rd right here on Wednesday. So again, we're halfway through. How do you feel about it so far?
Well, first off, I'm depressed that within a 6-day stretch, we're already halfway through.
Yeah, no, that really hit hard, didn't it?
That was tough to stomach when you told me that, but I've enjoyed it so far. I like it. I have my problems. I have little issues here and there, but overall, it's just incredible to see Obi-Wan again on the screen and to know that Darth Vader is lurking out there. Well, not lurking anymore, but I think it's just it's an amazing story, and some of my problems are small, but it's just any type of movie, TV show, anything, you can pick it apart if you do, but if you can really feel it in the end in your heart, that's what Star Wars is about.
Yeah, no, when it chokes you up on the right parts. And again, it could be argued, and we went through this, right? Because we were on the road together, as leading up to the prequels together. People back then, you and I were scratching our heads like, why do people not like these prequels? Because this was back when they were disliked, and we had small problems with it, but we still overall enjoyed everything. And now it's proven that it's aging like fine wine. And we even go back and like you watch A New Hope, and there's small problems with that too, right? There's small, everybody was angry about Ewoks if you go back to even the original trilogy. So I think Star Wars has a rich tradition of having small problems, and sometimes, like with sequel trilogies, they're big problems. But so far,
can I just say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
That recap was the best version of the prequel trilogy you've ever seen. Like, that got them over huge. It was like a highlight reel and made it look awesome.
Oh, I agree. That TLDR of basically all the sweet spots, the high notes of the prequel trilogy, showing the evolution of the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Wow, that was great.
And when that came up and it said skip recap, I was like, hell no, I'm not skipping the recap. Who would skip the recap?
The recap was so great. Like, it got me hyped to watch that episode.
It was,
You're dead on, Mario. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was a perfect pregame to set you up for how important this series is for basically the most important person in this whole entire saga not named Skywalker. Right?
Yes.
Just hands down the most important person. And Ewan McGregor, so far, his performance is carrying like the show. Like he's the star of the show, but his performance really is elevating this so much. Just his close facials, like everything's, and he looks like a war veteran with PTSD, and his face is beat up, his hair is hanging in there, and when they closed up on him, and he's like Anakin, like you feel his strife.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can see. I mean, you nailed it the other day. You called him Broken Obi Wan.
Yeah,
and that first episode, he felt broken. He felt alone, worn out, beaten, and to see the different scenes that he went through, like when he denied who he was to that Jedi on the run, when he was hiding, while the third sister was interrogating the crowd, even not wanting to go save Leia, hesitant. I'm not the man you used to know, all the way to that hesitation right at the end. He almost didn't get on that freighter until the lady said, "Well, are you coming?"
Oh yeah, that was strong. That was really strong.
Oh, and this whole series is full of just little magical moments, in the second part when, he said, if there's ever a time that I need assistance, it's now, Master. And then he hears the voice of the homeless clone trooper to his right. That scene was,
man, that was so
just
good.
A little bitty scene, but that was all that tugged, to see here's a Jedi general, at his lowest point, looking down at a homeless clone trooper, and you see this is the destruction. This is the personal destruction that Sidious unleashed on the whole galaxy. That was such a powerful moment.
And yeah, basically showing that there really was no winners, because he's looking in the face of guys that saved his life, or he saved their life, his war buddies, like we were talking about, his war, and now he's looking at him just also another broken person from. There is no winners in war, and that just goes to show it. And having Tamora Morrison in there, look, we've always seen it with the Clone Wars. We were marked for the Clone Wars. We watched all that, but to see that just in live action again, you're like, oh man, it really did. That was one of the scenes that choked me up for sure, especially when the look on his face, and he's like, should I tell him, or does he recognize me? Because that could have gone in so many different directions. He could have, like, wait a minute, he could have still had the chip in his head. And now he's like, Order 66 is still in effect. I'm going to get, about to get chased by a crazy homeless man that I'm about to cry over because we went to war with him. I mean, that could have went in so many different directions. But I really agreed with the direction that they played it subtle, and it worked really well.
I think they made the right choice. Just have the moment, see the emotions, see the personal loss, and move on.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, no, that really was. Some of the small things, we can, well, this one wasn't a small thing. As we know, Star Wars has a rich history of, for whatever reason, when something's not working, they attack the actor or actress that's doing it. Mario, I'll ask you to, just as from your director point of view, I think Moses Ingram's performance is good. I don't have any problem with her performance at all. As a director, are you seeing any issues with her performance?
No, I think she's fine.
I mean, she's a Yale trained actress. I feel like if there's an issue that's happening that people are not digging, talk to the writers, right? I think she's performing how she's being told or how she's interpreting it.
I mean, I think she's playing it very much like the thing is, when you think about Star Wars, there was a whole lot of people, the original trilogy, it was like a whole lot of people with British accents for no reason. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like you were on a different planet and they had British accents there. And I think we've gotten away from that. Now folks are just sort of speaking more in their normal tone of speak, right? People
Yeah.
have different dialects. People just sound different around the country. People sound different. You know what I
Right.
mean? So now we're almost hearing folks from a different part of Tatooine or something, right?
Right.
They're from West Tatooine,
West.
and they have a different
West,
accent.
from the west side.
So yeah, so that's just kind of coming in. I think people just are not. It sounds foreign to them. Maybe, you know, it sounds weird.
Yeah, and I don't know, Wayne. We've talked about this plenty of times, you know, because we've seen, like, you know, poor Jake Lloyd. I saw it was sad, but it was a funny meme, you know, because we comparing to, like, don't turn this actress playing Leia into what happened with Jake Lloyd, because I think he spiraled from the backlash, and it was the meme of Breaking Bad when he was punching the thing in the bathroom, and they're like, Star Wars fans, when a 7-year-old doesn't give an Oscar-worthy performance, he's like, bam, 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 like all fired up. Because I'm pretty, like, I don't think there's any bad performances. And it could be argued that in the prequel, people thought it was bad performances, or we know about the line of, you know, I don't like sand, and how George Lucas's writing was kind of drugged through the sand, for lack of a better word. But Wayne, are you seeing anything wrong with any performances that are jumping out at you right now?
No, I'm not. On the performance, I think everybody's doing a good job. Now, back to the Moses Ingram thing, something I find interesting is on Twitter, Star Wars was putting out stuff basically trying to get in front of the racism,
Yeah.
you know, and saying there's 20 million different sentient species, don't be a racist. And then I found it interesting that they wrote her character, you know, she's from the dark side, so she's going to be angry, but I find it interesting that she was an angry, dark-skinned female with a southern accent, which, by the way, as a Texan, I appreciate that the word y'all has been introduced into the Star Wars lexicon.
She's from South Tatooine.
Right.
is what I'm
South
saying.
Tatooine.
Yeah, but they write her as an angry, dark-skinned female, and then she is by a pasty white alien male. She's told that she's from the gutter and has a stench, even though she was a former Jedi just like he was a former Jedi. So
Right.
I think Disney's sending a little bit of mixed signals on that one there. That's kind of curious to me.
Yeah, it definitely, they could have steered away from a lot of stuff, because obviously, you know, Disney has you know, a history of, well, I don't even want to say Disney. Let's just call it for what it is. You know, Kathleen Kennedy definitely has a history of, to quote Macho Man Randy Savage, you got a hidden agenda. And just like, man, it doesn't have to be. We're totally okay with, like, we're talking about the other Star brand, Star Trek, was always about messages of hope, and you can do it in a way that it navigates into the story organically. So, but
I agree.
I feel like
I totally agree. To me, the Reva character is interesting. She stands out among the Inquisitorius. It seems to me like they are leaning back on their Jedi, origins, and they're patient, and they're willing to sit and almost wait for the table scraps from Sidious and Darth Vader. And she's out there more Sith-like, impatient, going to go out and make her way. She's obviously enterprising and clever. I mean, she ran down Obi Wan Kenobi in no time.
Yeah.
She discovered, she did her homework. She's intelligent. She did her homework. She found the link to Leia and had her captured to lure him out, knowing he would show up. And then the others was, dragging behind her, trying to take credit for what she had done. And I find her a compelling character, and, seems like she's going to be a match for Broken Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and she's more of the enterprising startup, and they're the corporate shills, like, towing the line, because it could be argued she has a very, very similar parallel to, ironically, Anakin Skywalker. I think she has
Exactly.
a very similar because that's how he would have done it. Like we always used to laugh about that line. We'll take him together. No, I'm taking him now. No, wait. She would be the one that says
Exactly.
we're taking him now. There's some stuff, again, and I think it's unfair because there's some stuff in her writing that is bringing, an unnecessary spotlight on her with just the little stuff, right? Like they didn't really acknowledge that, her force power is obviously almost like like she has that bloodhound force power that she's walking around looking, and it looks, and just through an average, just a viewer, they're like, whoa, she just happens to be walking in through this show and spotting all this stuff. But for us nerds, we realize she's using her force power to try to sense as she's walking through it. She's part of the bloodhound plot, but no one's seeing that. So it looks like she's getting a lot of unearned stuff because she just happens to walk up to, Owen Lars, and she just happens to walk through the door where the escape tunnel was. It's just like, but you realize she's using her force powers. So I think that's not helping.
I think anybody saying that she's, not earning isn't watching the same thing I am, because to me, she's using every aspect of her intellect, her force instincts, her powers. She's just smarter than the other Inquisitors.
Yeah. And what about the Mario? I don't know, because you only watched a little bit of Rebels, right? Or did you watch just a couple of recaps? I don't know.
Rebels, the cartoon?
Yeah.
I didn't watch any of it, honestly.
Okay, I didn't know you didn't. So because the other big controversy right now, which they didn't even really bring up, they didn't make a big deal of it, was the Grand Inquisitor. In canon, you want spoilers, right? You're okay with spoilers?
I'm good with spoilers, yeah.
Like, obviously, the Grand Inquisitor dies in Rebels, against Caden. How did you say his name?
Kanan Jarrus.
Yeah, Kanan Jarrus. So he dies against him. But then Reva killed him last week in basically a move to be promoted. And everybody's really concerned.
Actually, I can't wait for the scene where she finds out he's alive.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was going to ask you guys. Like, do you really think that he is alive, or do you think that the Grand Inquisitor is a job title and they could get somebody? But then, what are the odds that another one of that species that looks exactly like it is going to be another Grand Inquisitor?
I think it's going to be the same one.
It is the same guy. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I cheated. I went to StarWars.com and I checked.
Okay. So it is the same guy. Okay.
So it is the same one.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, look, Darth Maul got chopped in half and he came back. So
yeah,
he came back and for whatever reason in a more accepted way than even you can say somehow, the Emperor is back and we don't know how, and they used the Sith alchemy. I've seen it happen, but to take the shot to the gut, and we just learned it through Book of Boba Fett, right? That Fennec took that shot to the gut, and she came back when she got modded by the mean motor scooters. She got modded, so I mean, it's not that unreasonable for him to come back. But I don't think
a lightsaber is going to cauterize the wound. So
yeah, I feel like that shouldn't have been as big of a controversy as it was. What about JJ said, I'm mad that no one has mentioned that the Grand Inquisitor is actually Quan Chi from Mortal Kombat 4. Well, is that the actor? Or is that how we... But yeah, I know the Grand Inquisitor has, and Wayne, you'll have to fill us in because I know he has a rich history as one of the guards, right? He was a yellow lightsaber guard for the Jedi, right? In the temple?
Yes, he was actually one of the guards that escorted Ahsoka Tano out on the platform when she was in a trial.
Oh, when she got framed, right?
Yeah, when she got framed, by Barriss Offee. He escorted out, and from what I've read, that's one of the moments where he started losing his faith in the Jedi.
Wow. So that's, and they got a chance for, the characters do look exactly like I thought it was the actor for a second. Because I know that actor took some, another one of the controversies that came out is that actor took some slack because he's like, oh, I really just didn't watch anything to Rebels because I wanted to interpret it. And people were like furious. Like, the character's already established. There's nothing for you to interpret. But what's Star Wars without some controversy? But I still feel like, other than the Moses Ingram thing that became very personal for the actor, it's herself. I feel like this is like another day at the office for Star Wars.
They should title the next Star Wars is like Star Wars Wanna Fight? It could be the subtitle.
Boring.
Oh, wait, I was just going to do that. That was definitely the robot chicken. Boring. Let's fight. Which, yeah, robot chicken needs to be.
Is anyone else having a problem with Obi-Wan's on this big secret mission and he dresses in a Jedi cloak?
Yeah, right? It's just like, shouldn't you be wearing something different?
What was that, Dayu?
That's
in the part 2? He's running around that city with a Jedi cloak trying to convince everybody he's not a Jedi. That one kind of confused me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, episode 3, today's episodes, and well, spoiler alert in case anyone hasn't seen it. Mario, you already waved your spoiler flag, white flag, that you're okay with it. You know, for him to be sitting in front of all the stormtroopers with it on, they're like, I guess in Stormtrooper Academy they don't have like war history classes that you got to pass to know thy enemy. Because they're like, he was sitting right there, and it's just like, oh wow. But yeah, there's a few of those scenes like that. That again, it's Star Wars. You do have to make those stretches. Even George Lucas with the double Holy Trinity, there was tons of little plot holes that were in there. I just feel like they're dancing around some dangerous territory, having not only Obi-Wan but now having Leia in there. That you're just like, wow, they got to be really, really careful. Like, you would think somebody would be there making sure it's like, no, you can't do that. No, don't say that. Like, because you risk it now that she's right there with Darth Vader. Like, Darth Vader's daughter is right there on the planet with him, and he's walking basically with his Force-sensitive antenna up, looking for Force-sensitive Obi-Wan, and he's not going to pick up on her. Now, granted, he never picked up on it on the original trilogy, and she was right in front of him. But
he tortured her.
Yeah, he tortured her. So it's like, I feel like they're already playing a little bit with fire. I love seeing little Leia. I think the actress is great. I think she's really capturing that rebellious spirit that Carrie Fisher put into the character. I think she's catching. But I feel like, man, she's such a big part of this that I almost feel like she shouldn't be as big of a part of it. Like, it's cool that she got involved, but not too involved, because, man, like I told you, and Obi-Wan, I told you this earlier, Wayne, I was like, he needs to stop being so mean to her, because she's just as important as Luke at this moment, because he doesn't, like, he knows what made Obi-Wan decide who's the chosen one between Luke and Leia. Because what if it is her?
I guess familiarity that he was checking on the boy for all those years.
Yeah, so I guess that 10 years, and he's like, you have no idea what I'm risking, to be here with you, Your Highness. But it's just like, you need to be risking it for her too. So, I mean, again, that's...
Oh, yeah, because the whole ball of wax is on the line right now, because Leia and Luke is the hope of the galaxy, and nobody's watching over Luke right now. Leia's been, spoiler alert, Leia's been captured by the Inquisitorius, and if Obi-Wan was to die, that's it.
Yeah, it's over.
There's no protector over Luke. I mean, it's all on the line right now. So, I mean, there's some high stakes going on right now.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I think it's brave to throw Leia in the mix. The possibilities of loopholes being created, be damned. If they throw her in there and they pull it off, how cool is that?
Oh, yeah.
That Leia, we got to see Luke and Leia in this, and Leia was an integral part so far. I think it's interesting.
It is.
I like where they're going with this. And what you brought up, oh my gosh, that scene with Darth Vader walking down that street.
Oh, Mario, yeah, you're going to flip when you see people. That.
And when he snapped that boy's neck, oh my Lord, that was terrible. but I loved when they flashed down the street, and they showed the 3 Inquisitors, and they kind of flinched, like, oh my God, at the brutality of it.
Yeah,
that was incredible.
Yeah, Mario, when you see that scene, it's funny because they had the first part 1 of the duel. They had Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader, and some of the complaints were, why was he not being as aggressive as he could have been? Which he used force power to basically drag Obi-Wan through fire, because he's like, I'm not going to kill you, I'm going to torture you like you did me. But before that, like, he's being kind of timid. It's like, really? He just snapped the kid's neck. He force choked one kid, snapped another kid's neck, did another force push through there, and he was walking. Everybody, I was like, he was just basically walking down the street killing people, not sand people, and not just the men, but the women and the children. Yeah, yeah, he was. I mean, I thought he was ruthless.
We got rated R Darth Vader.
We got rated R Darth Vader. And like you said, and again, we'll see what happens until the fight with Obi-Wan, because he felt like he was either testing Obi-Wan or if he was pulling back, because it felt like, I want to see how far I can take this guy. And then Obi-Wan was basically on his heels the entire fight. He was running for his life. Go ahead, Wayne.
I have to be honest, that is my biggest problem so far. I think they're taking the broken Obi-Wan too far.
Yeah.
He was utterly helpless in that fight, and it just, muscle memory alone, Obi Wan Kenobi, supposedly the greatest defensive lightsaber duelist in the Jedi history, and let's face it, Finn put up a better fight against Kylo Ren.
Yeah,
with a lightsaber. At least he got a blow in.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan looked like a rank amateur in that, and I get that he's shocked that Anakin's alive. I get the emotion, he's broken, and even the rust factor. But I would have liked to have seen him show some technique, kind of like he did when he was fighting in that spice den, and he looked a little rusty, but then like the moves were kind of coming to him when he was taking down those 2 thugs in the hallway.
Yep.
I would have liked to have seen him show some technique, maybe a little slow, maybe a little off, but to me, there's no doubt Vader's going to win in that, because Vader is at his all-time, in his prime, and I just would have liked a more competitive fight. And then when Vader knocked over those that barrel and lit those flames up, and they showed him, I was like, oh, well, that's a gratuitous shot. Well, it looks cool, Vader in the flames. Then he pulled Obi-Wan down into those flames. I was like, oh man, he's gonna burn him.
Oh,
Revenge.
Man, yeah.
That was incredible. That was just utterly incredible.
100% on brand. That was the one that really made me wince, because I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming at all. Like, obviously, we always wondered as fans, like, man, why didn't you were my brother, Anakin, I loved you, but I'm still gonna leave you there and burn. I'm not gonna put you out of your misery. Like, he left him there to like suffer, and we always wondered, like, why didn't he go finish the job? And I know he just couldn't, but now, and obviously,
one little flick of the wrist could, with a little force shove, could have shoved him out in the lava, but that wouldn't have been the will of the Force, because he had a job left to do.
Yeah.
He was still the chosen one who ended up throwing, Sidious down the shaft.
Yeah.
So that's the only way I can explain that one, because that is kind of hard. Like, you fought all the way through there, and then you left him alive.
Yeah, that was strange.
But
it added to the scene.
To another problem. That leads to the problem at the end of the fight, though. Why did Vader let them go? They were just on the other side of the flames. He could have, with the Force, could have grabbed a hold of the droid, all 3 of them, and brought them through the flames. Do you think it's like a cat and a mouse thing? Like, well, I've made my point. Now you're suffering. I'll hunt you down again.
Yeah, that's what that's going to be the $1 million question, because he saw the droid. There's no reason he couldn't have crushed a droid or grabbed him or did whatever he wants. So I'm really curious how that escape is going to happen. I know a lot of people had big problems with that. Like, no, he's afraid of the fire. It's like, no, he caused the fire. So I don't know what that means.
He wasn't afraid of it when he was dragging Obi-Wan through it.
Yeah, exactly, when he was dragging him through it. So another thing I can think of is he realizes that okay, I'm gonna, obviously I can beat this guy whenever I want, so I'm gonna use him to maybe hunt down some more Jedi or to help to figure out what's going on. But that is the $1 million question.
That's a good thought.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile broken Obi-Wan, who is obviously at this point, in the second part, I told my wife, the irony of this is if these Inquisitors ever corner Obi-Wan, he's going to smoke them all.
Yeah.
And now that I've seen broken Obi-Wan wield a lightsaber, I'm thinking, man, if Reva runs him down, she's going to take him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to need...
But how do you reconcile the way Obi-Wan is now with the Obi-Wan from Rebels that took out Darth Maul in 3 moves?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That Obi-Wan was confident. He was sure. He was at peace. When Maul approached him, he was just, this is no big deal. I mean, basically, you could just read his mind like, hey, I don't want to kill you, but if you come at me, and then it's oh, wait. Oh, now I'm protecting somebody? Oh, it's your ass now.
Yeah, and he was gone just like that. Biggest Obi-Wan rematch was over in 3 moves, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be something.
So I'm thinking we've got to see Obi-Wan have that moment of grit that stands up. At some point, he's going to get cornered, and he's going to stand up. We've got to see him redeem himself in the last 3 parts here. He's got to have a strong moment.
Yeah, he can't stay broken, because even the Obi-Wan that we met in A New Hope with Alec Guinness, he was happy. For lack of a better term, right? He was ready to train Luke. He was ready to take him under his wing. He was not broken at all. He was just like, okay, now's my time to shine. So we got to see closer to that, which I think we're gonna, right? Because by the time
hopefully this is his redemption journey.
Yeah, this has to be.
Hopefully this is the tale of how he came back from broken Obi-Wan.
I think clearly so far, if you're keeping track at home, it's a tie game. Obi-Wan beat him in the first one in Revenge of the Sith, and now Darth Vader won this battle. So I think it has to end with Obi-Wan in a way. Either they're going to go to a Broadway time limit draw, but Obi-Wan has to come out looking strong, because we gotta get to that moment when Vader says in A New Hope, when we last met, I was but the learner, but now I'm the master. So that means it has to be Obi-Wan has to school him a little bit.
Do you think there's going to be a second confrontation?
I think there has to be.
Because a lot of the marketing around this series was that you're going to get another confrontation between Vader and Obi-Wan. And at this point, if this is all we get, I feel ripped off. Yeah,
no, there has to be another match. There has to be. I want them to do, and Mario appreciate this. They have to do the Rocky Balboa, right? That they need Qui-Gon to play the part of Mickey, and he needs to say, "Get up, you son of a bitch," because Mickey loves you. That's what they got.
What are we waiting for?
Exactly. We have to have that, to complete the arc. So when we run into Obi-Wan, I guess it would be 8 years later from where we're at right now, that he's going to be living in a hut, and I'm kind of eating, and I'm not in a cave anymore. It's like, I don't know if you heard, but I don't sell my stuff to Jawas anymore. I'm okay. I'm better. And that's what we need to have. I think Reba's a goner. I don't, it's going to, I don't know. Her story to me is going to be interesting, how they end that, because we know the other Inquisitors that are in Rebels, and I don't think they're going to break canon. I'm not like everybody else who's flipping out that Disney's changing canon right before our eyes. I don't think they're going to change canon, because really the only one that we don't see later on is Reva. So I don't know if she's coming out of this, and how, I think her ambition is going to get her, and whether it's going to be what I'm curious of is her life going to end at the hands of Vader or the hands of Obi-Wan? Which I'm or
the Grand Inquisitor. Does he need to make a comeback?
Oh yeah, he's going to need to make a comeback, because he was definitely had a stronger showing in Rebels than he did in this. So I think he needs a little bit of a redemption arc. Why would Vader
value him over her. She's outsmarted him at every move, and she stuck the lightsaber in his gut. So,
yeah. And you always told me this, and I'd never and now we're actually seeing it play out. You know, the Vader that we known was never comfortable with his spot. He was always fighting to keep his spot. So if he's always fighting to keep his spot, everybody under him are going to be forced by default to also fight to keep their spot. So I think he's totally fine with the Inquisitors fighting each other to the death to prove themselves in, because Sidious is trying to actively always kill Vader just to make sure that he's still on his game.
Yes, and if anybody can kill him, he's not worthy of being a Sith. So
yeah, so I think that's going to be good. So Mario, what do you think in jumping to, you know, we went through the journey of the Book of Boba Fett together, and sometimes we're victims of our own hopes. What kind of cameos are you looking for? Like, we already got, I mean, Bail Organa, we got Jimmy Smits in there, and he's doing great. He's really adding to the tragedy that happened with that planet getting blown up. We got Little Leia as a cameo. What kind of cameos are you looking like? I know you're not as hardcore as us. Or do you want to see cameos? Do you care about cameos? Who else would you want to see in the Obi-Wan series?
Well, I think the recap video immediately telegraphed Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
We're getting Qui-Gon.
We have to.
I feel they also telegraphed Sam Jackson.
Oh,
Mace
really?
Windu. Yeah. Because if you watch the recap, those are the first two sort of like people we see.
Interesting.
And it's like, I think if they try,
that.
if they're attempting to like downplay folks, they kind of like, they'll shoot around them, you know what I mean? Or just use audio, try to like, you know, pare down their appearance. But Sam Jackson, they seem pretty prominent. He's got a Disney contract already.
He's been lobbying to bring that character back too.
He did, yeah. I forgot where he was. He was telling Bryce Dallas Howard, you know, who's directed some of the really good episodes. He was like, I can do it. I can come back. A lot of Jedi survived from higher. A lot of other people survived from higher falls.
And he's already across the lot working on Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He's already there at Disney, so just clock out and then come over to the Star Wars soundstage and do that part.
I think that, to me, I mean, I think everybody's expecting Qui-Gon, but you just blew my mind, because I don't think everybody's expecting Samuel Jackson. And if he shows up, that's internet breaking. Even if he just shows up to sacrifice himself, or maybe, you know, Anakin gets his revenge for never calling him master. Like, you realize how many memes they made about me for you not letting me be a master? I think that would be a great cameo. I saw another funny meme of, you know, Obi-Wan getting hunted by every bounty hunter and Inquisitor across the galaxy, and said, meanwhile on Dagobah, and they show Yoda taking a nap. Oh, but that would be an interesting cameo. Do you think there's a chance that we're going to get Yoda or Baby Yoda? What if we get Grogu? Because he's around. He's hiding, but he's around. I think that would be a big surprise. I think because they touched on it a little bit when they said, what are they doing with all these younglings and force-sensitive children? They're like, they never see them again. And clearly they're setting up for Reva to be one of those younglings that turned Inquisitor. But wouldn't it be interesting if we do get a glimpse of Grogu now?
Do you think that would be well received after he's already been inserted into the Book of Boba Fett?
I don't think it's necessary. I think it would be like a baby pop, but if you want the Road Warrior pop, I don't think you throw in Grogu. I think you throw in Mace Windu. So yeah, I don't know if it would be ill received because he's so popular, but I don't think it's, like you said, it already kind of felt like they shoehorned him into Book of Boba Fett. Maybe they don't need to put him here.
I think it's too soon for that crossover.
Yeah. Back to Mace Windu, do you think that they would bring him back as a part of the story, or maybe end of credits last scene to spark interest in the project, and you just see in the shadows, you see a purple lightsaber light up?
Ooh, that could be good. if I had my druthers, I would choose that over part of the story. Because then they'd be like, surprise, we're going to have a What Happened to Mace Windu story. I think I'd prefer that as the cameo. I think that would be very cool. And that would break the internet even more.
I think so.
I agree with that. There's a smaller cameo that they hinted to, which was pretty cool to see IRL Obi Wan Kenobi talk about Quinlan Vos. I thought that was cool because he was such a compelling character in the animated universe. To actually have him call him out by name like that was pretty cool. I think
that was very cool.
Yeah, I'd like to see them investigate that a little further, because that was true on like, hey, this is for the deep cut fans to appreciate. I thought that was cool. They haven't really done much with Luke.
No. But you kind of had to take the story off of Tatooine in order to keep Tatooine safe, that they don't suspect Obi-Wan being on Tatooine.
That's a good point. That is a really good point. Yeah,
they had to lure him off, and so as long as there's no battles on Tatooine and he's not actively seen on Tatooine, there's no reason to suspect him.
Yeah.
Talking about the cameos, you had Flea in there. That was pretty interesting. But what do you think? Can you have a Star Wars product in this era without R2-D2 and C-3PO?
Yeah, right. Because we only got the small. Was that C-3PO right before the other protocol droid that they showed talking in the back? And
I didn't notice that.
I think it was
great.
It was in episode 1 when she was about to get into the fight with her cousin that was trolling her, and there was another protocol droid. But before that, it looked like C-3PO was talking in the back. Now, granted, no R2-D2, but you're absolutely right. Showing them together, I think, would be a very good nod to the fans.
Because isn't the entire Star Wars story supposed to be told through their eyes? The Skywalker side?
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder.
JJ didn't get that memo, but yeah, you're absolutely you're absolutely right. So I don't know, man. Halfway there, I'm pretty happy. We got to learn to quell our hopes, just because again there was a lot of people that were upset the way Boba Fett turned out. But so far, I don't think that's happened to. I think they're honoring the Obi-Wan character, and I think Anakin's getting honored too. I think we're seeing more of a badass. I popped because that was our first look at Anakin, even though it was just a mirage, him and his PTSD. But seeing Anakin in the robe, standing there in the middle of that field, looking back at him, that was cool. I want to see.
Yes.
I want to see more. I want to see a Clone War flashback. Are we going to get, and Mario, we I know you laughed about this, because we had so many back to tank flashbacks. But now Obi-Wan is basically burnt up. Like, he's got serious burns, so he's going to have to go in a back to tank, and he's going to have some. Is that where we're going to see either Anakin as Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen as Anakin, or are we just going to see that's when he finally breaks through and talks to Qui-Gon?
You think we'll get a de-aged Anakin? I think it's 50-50.
Yeah.
Because maybe have we seen Jedis in the Bacta tank before?
No, just Luke and Empire.
Because you can they can astral project out of there,
right,
and go talk to someone somewhere else.
Yes, yeah, that's absolutely true. I wonder if they can do. The Luke is the only one that flaunted that power, at least in the films. But seeing a Jedi in the Bacta tank is going to be like very deep meditation. So I think that's gonna come into play for sure, because he's burnt up. Mario, and you'll see. I know you haven't fully watched it yet. He's burnt up pretty bad, and that scene was strong. Like, he was just toying with Obi-Wan, and he just drug him through the fire. Just like, how do you like it, huh? How do you like it? Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?
In the James Earl Jones voice?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did it in the yeah, and that's, somebody was saying, it's like, no, that's computer generated James Earl Jones, and I'm like, and I guess they could do that, but I thought it was really James Earl Jones. Wayne, do you think that sounded like computer generated?
On IMDb, it's his credit.
It is his credit in there. Yeah,
I guarantee you, Disney has already purchased James Earl Jones' voice in perpetuity.
Oh my God, you're
Like
right.
they probably developed an AI to recreate it. They can just do it with a keyboard and it'll do James Earl Jones' voice, but they already paid him off for that. And it's like he probably gets, millions of dollars a year until he dies.
That's not a bad retirement plan. It's just like, and I don't have to go into the suit. That's fine. And speaking of that, Wayne, what did you feel about the suit? A lot of people thought the suit looked too skinny, and I thought that was a weird take. Like, what do you mean it looks too skinny? Except the pants. The pants were too baggy.
I did notice the baggy pants, but it didn't really bother me. I didn't notice him being too skinny, but at this point, he's had 10 years of healing. He's every spare moment he spends in a bacta tank, and he's still fairly young. I could see where 10 years later he would swell up a little bit. And at this point he's been hunting Jedi, so he's very active. He's not just a stand on the bridge kind of general.
No.
He's been actively hunting and killing Jedis, and they referenced that in the first part when they said we're hunting scraps, and they said that's all we have at this point. So he's been very active. So I think that you could nitpick anything. You could go to a work of art, a movie, whatever the so-called greatest movie of all time was, and you could pick it to death.
Yeah.
So I think people are guilty of that in Star Wars, and I think that mob rules. Someone kind of lights a flame and everybody tries to throw gasoline on it.
Yeah.
To me, I'd go in hoping to enjoy that Star Wars magic. Along the way, you're going to see a few things that, catch your eye, but you can't allow that to distract you.
No,
unless it's the abomination that came out in the sequels.
Yeah. And Jack was asking me this. He's like, do you think people are going to appreciate the sequels in like 10 years the way they appreciate the prequels? And I'm like, son, no. But no, I do think there's going to be glimmers that are appreciated, but not as a whole. Because again, we remember the prequels, man. Think about, you remember the heat that Jar Jar Binks got? Jar Jar Binks got nuclear heat. I mean, he made it seem like...
It drove him insane. The poor actor who played him is mentally ill now.
Oh, man, that was crazy. And it's just like, and we're talking about made Baron Corbin look like Stone Cold. I mean, he was so unover. And now, I think if you had a Jar Jar Binks cameo, he would get a pop. Not like a groan. I think he would get a major pop.
Well, I think that some people forget that Star Wars is also a vehicle for toys for children.
Right.
So there's usually going to be an Ewok or a Jar Jar Binks or even the Jawas. And,
Oh, yeah.
I think that there's, people lose track of that's going to be a part. There's always going to be something cute. What were those things called? Porgs or something?
Yeah.
Those little penguin-looking birds.
Yeah, those were all about toys.
Yeah, so to me, you can't get distracted by that.
No.
I mean, there are things that can be criticized, but the marketing side, the merchandising side is always going to be there on properties of this level. It's unavoidable.
It has to be. Yeah, Leia's little droid Lola, you can buy that already.
Yeah.
I mean, there's absolutely true.
Of course, you can't.
But
think about that.
But I feel like that. You really do have to read between the lines. And Wayne, Mario, I think I've told you this as well. I appreciate the Force more than I appreciate the wars in Star Wars. I appreciate that more than I do actually. That's why I think I never really got into Star Wars Resistance, because I didn't know. It's just like, well, they're not really going to get into the Force, because I mean, again, we've all had those metaphysical conversations that I feel, and I look for those parallels and try to understand that, and that's always what drew me more than the blasters and and the spaceships. I've been more about the the Force and the Force. Like, give me an episode over about a Force ghost over any of the big battles in Star Wars, and I'm picking the Force ghost 10 out of 10 times. So but that means you got to sit through a lot of the other stuff to get to that part, because I mean, and Mario, I don't know what that film technique is called, but I feel like George Lucas people were angry about the cut, and you haven't seen the episode yet, fully. They were angry about the cutbacks. Like, they were middle of showing, Vader fight Obi-Wan, and then they cut back to something else. Like, that's all they did in the first, especially in the Jedi fight. All I remember is the cutting back and forth to Lando Calrissian, storming, and then cutting back to the fight. I don't know what that style is, but think about this. Luke Skywalker got trained on Dagobah this whole time while Han was having a very slow, let's get out of here across the universe. I don't know. Is that a filming technique, or is that just an editing choice?
I mean, it's just montage editing, but I think in like those the OG ones, they would cut to a very long, complete scene, and it would play out. Then it would cut to another scene at the other location. I feel like these cut back and forth a little faster. Yeah, and which is why people probably find it jarring. But you'd see a complete portion of the story before it cut away, in those older ones. Got it. Yeah, and maybe I don't know if that's just the modern people, the way consume content. Everybody wants it to be faster, because I don't know, Wayne, if you know, did you find that distracting when they were cutting away from the fight?
No.
I just felt like that's all Lucas always did.
No, it didn't bother me at all. In fact, it it was like, oh yeah, we're back to this. Okay, where are we going here? Yeah. It helped the excitement to know that really the battle was on 3 levels.
Yeah. Leia was
usually it's 3 levels. The Jedi have a fight. There's a ground based and a space based.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and this was important. Like you said, if they committed. And I guess that's the whole thing with Leia. They added real tension, because you're like, man, they have such an important character. How are they going to get her out of this? And it's almost adding like almost real stakes, because you're worried about the story and you're worried about the character too. So cutting back to Leia, figuring out how she's going to get away, because there was real tension. I was like, how the hell are they getting off this planet? The entire time, this was like a serious tension builder, because, man, right when he got to the planet, he's already having to hide from stormtroopers. Like, there's no way he's getting off this planet. And I feel like, and now he's like, okay, get Leia out of here. But there's no way she's getting off the planet. And they're still on the planet as the end of the episode.
And that's great storytelling, because we all know how the story ends. They have to get off the planet. And when they're putting tension, and you're feeling the tension, even though they're going to escape because they have to. Yeah. They're doing a good job there. How magical was that scene at the very beginning with the cargo ship, when she asked, "What's it like? What does the Force feel like?"
Oh man, that was good. That was really good. Again, that's when I feel like he finally reminded, oh yeah, she's important too. I need to explain the Force to her. That was really good. Yeah. Hats off to that, little Leia, that actress. She's doing a great job. She really is.
It's almost like in the middle of him rescuing her, she's rescuing him.
Yeah. Oh man, she rescued him right back. Mario, you're going to appreciate this. You know what the vibe that it's creating right now with Leia and Obi-Wan? The Professional. Leon the Professional, which ironically was Natalie Portman, now being played by her fictitious daughter, but it is a version of The Professional, because she's having to basically bring out the old Jedi hitman on him.
It's poetry, right?
Yeah. There it is. This stuff's like poetry. It's rhyme. Yeah, and JJ, no, we do not want, because Kathleen Kennedy has been compared to the other Kennedy, Vincent Kennedy. So no WWE booking for Star Wars. Like, when are they just going to accept that? Give Favreau and Filoni the reins. Like, he got a freaking...
They're pretty much there, aren't they?
He got a Road Warrior pop at Star Wars Celebration. Like, when he came out, they're like, Filoni, get out. And people were going nuts. And he was just taking it in stride. But there's there's only he can't be in every place the entire time, and he's working on Ahsoka right now. So, but I don't know. I feel like he said Deborah Chow, he felt like it's in better hands. I feel like, hot take, I mean, Obi-Wan and Anakin right now are being handled better than Boba Fett, because Boba Fett, they went for an attempt to change who the character was, and they went through like a redemption arc, and I think that almost needs a season 2 to play out for what they were trying to accomplish. But for what they're trying to accomplish with these characters, I think so far Obi-Wan, and other than being a little bit too broken, and that could be redeemed, so far these characters are being protected.
Yes,
I think so. Where do you? So I know we've been going a little bit, Wayne, but I gotta ask you on this. Where do you see this going? Like, how would you like this to go? Book the end of Obi Wan Kenobi. You're one of the best bookers that we've known. You're the one that carried our tag team for booking the angles. So book the end of Obi Wan Kenobi for us.
I feel he has to find his strength and his will to fight, to reconcile with where he ends up. I think that he's got to be hounded, and they'll chase him, across the galaxy. Now he's got to go on another rescue mission. I think that he will find some kind of help from some Jedi source or somebody from the past. But I think in the end he has to, I'm not sure if he has to be the one to confront Reva, which her arc would be lost and empty if she has no confrontation with him. But I agree with you. I think that there has to be one more confrontation, because you have to honor the 2 out of 3 falls match. You have to have one more confrontation with Vader, and he has to have a strong showing but slip away and return Leia to Alderaan, and then resume protecting Luke. It's kind of obvious where it has to go. It's hard to book it any other way, because you already know how it ends up.
Yeah.
But I think there's important points along the way that has to be honored, and we have to find Obi-Wan in the end. He has to have got his mojo back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He has to shape the character who we know he becomes, like you said, in Rebels, and then eventually in New Hope, for sure.
A baby always has to get their comeback. He didn't get a shine in the beginning of the match.
No, he did not.
He never got a shine. But and he's taking the heat right now. He's got to make a comeback. You can have a few false finishes along the way, but he's got to make a comeback, and he has to. I don't think anybody would accept if the baby doesn't go over in the end and have some strength. I don't think he'll defeat Vader outright, but I don't think he can get away from Vader with his tail tucked, and there's any semblance of joy in the end of this series.
Yeah, there has to be hope at the end of this series, right? Because the next part of this story is A New Hope, so they have to at least be prepped for hope. So Mario, how do you, before we'll end it on this, how do you want to book the finish?
How am I going to book the end of Obi Wan Kenobi?
Yeah, the 6. There's only 6, so we only got 3 left. How do we book it?
We're going to get definitely another lightsaber battle between Obi Wan and Vader. I think we'll get to see Luke, a little more of Luke. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what is her name? Moses Ingram, her character.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see her Reba. She'll turn babyface.
Oh yeah, I could see.
Oh, nice.
I can see a babyface turn for her, right? Because maybe that's why she killed the Grand Inquisitor. Maybe she has her redemption arc. That would be cool. What if she?
That's a good call right there, Mario.
Yeah,
that would be interesting. How they get her away from the Inquisitors?
Like maybe she ends up sacrificing herself because she realizes, maybe the will of the Force. And she realizes that she has to. What if she's been hunting Obi-Wan the whole time, and now she basically gives her life to make sure that the will of the Force goes through? That would be a good call, Mario. I'm not even going to try to top that because I think that's good. A Reva babyface turn would be very cool.
There.
Could she get her own spinoff with the Inquisitors hunting her?
Oh, man. Now we're booking. Now we're booking the territory. We're booking the Tatooine territory.
That's it.
We just came up with a few new series. We got the What Happened to Mace Windu, and now, Reva on the Run. That's what you call it, Reva on the Run, and get the Inquisitors going after her. That would be cool because Ahsoka has proven, and Wayne, we talked about this before. We didn't know how it was going to happen because there's like, whoa, we never saw Ahsoka in the original trilogy, so but she proved that it doesn't matter. She survived past the original trilogy. We're never even being mentioned. And now we're going to see where that led. So these characters can branch off into way different stories and just get the rich storytelling, which we always knew that Star Wars could be, not only could be, but was, with the books and the comic books. So I'm ready. I'm ready for more Obi-Wan, though, man. I'm ready. Let's do this.